Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we're the California Pariah, Jonathan Charny, James, the Fattman Stevens.
Hello.
And Rob, the old guy.
You're listening to the Rob Charny
Show. I'm here. Another rip-roaring episode.
And hopefully soon we'll have some of our other ragtag bag of misfits on. We'll see.
Yeah.
We're going to start the show off with our celebration of the people who have passed away. And since life and
come out with a thing, like a little theme song for that, like a funeral dirge or something like that for this, just so that you liven it up a little bit. Maybe like a happy birthday song of the dead. I don't know. It seems like our more,
so like a bad news of
opening,
like a bad news over happy music type of thing. So Sergio Calderon, best known for his work in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, Men in Black, and The Ruins, has died at 77 years old.
Oh, young.
General Hospital and Saved by the Bell actor Gerard Castillo passed away at 90. That's a good run.
Yeah.
And legendary, and I mean legendary, singer Tina Turner died at 83.
Yep.
Classic metal church drummer Kirk Arrington has died at 61. I have no clue who he is.
No, I don't either.
And Quinton Tarantino announces Leonardo DiCaprio's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood character Rick Dalton has passed away.
So now we announce characters that have died.
I thought it was funny not to. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, at first I thought you were going to say Tarantino died.
So Quentin Tarantino announced on
that.
Friday that Rick Dalton, the 60s actor played by Leonardo DiCaprio and directed in 2019 film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, has passed away.
Once upon a time?
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has passed away.
Okay.
So the thing is I don't know if it's a real guy or a fake guy. So, it must be real.
They have a picture of him?
No.
Well, maybe it is fake.
So from 1933 to 2023. So I'm assuming he's real.
Sounds like he's real. It's got a birthday.
Sam Zell, billionaire real estate mogul, dies at 81. British comedian Andy Smart dies unexpectedly at 63. And the WWE legend superstar Billy Graham died at 79. This gentleman is solely responsible for launching a ton of careers, him and Dusty Rhodes. Hulk Hogan famously said he wanted to be like superstar Billy Graham and kind of stole his gimmick. And here's one for James. The godfather of poker dies at 89, Doyle Brunson.
Yeah. Well, he's an old man, and he was probably still playing poker.
He probably died with
at a
chips in
poker
his
table.
hand.
Yeah, probably.
Barry Newman, Vanishing Point and the Limey actor, dies at 92. And that's it. But Melanie did send us a listicle of well-known figures who we lost in 2023. So I think I'd go through it real quick.
Oh, all right.
Lance Riddick. Tajana Patia, supermodel. Tom Sizemore died at 61. That's somebody we announced. I was bummed about that one. Robbie Knievel we announced. Burt Bacharach?
Bacharach. Yeah.
Robert Blake. Jeff Beck, which was heartbreaking, as he was considered one of the greatest by the greats. Raquel Welch, Richard Belzer, and I think we've actually done a good portion of these, so we'll save the list if we run out of people to talk to about who passed away, I guess.
Well, we've got to honor Melanie every now and then. We don't hear from her too often anymore.
So here's one that I thought that was interesting. Henry Rollins says bands aren't making essential music anymore. A former Black Flag frontman, Henry Rollins, feels that some bands aren't creating essential music anymore, and that success has damaged impact on creating art. Years ago, Rollins made the decision to step away from making music and focus on other creative desires. During a recent chat with the 13th Floor, he was asked if he would turn to creating music if an artist he really respected approached him with an opportunity. So what do you think? I mean, we've heard this comment for years that nobody's making music anybody actually wants. It's all generic.
You know, if you want to hear anyone new that is making decent music, don't listen to the radio.
Oh, 100%.
And a lot of the guys that I've found recently that I'm like, they're actually pretty good. I just kind of randomly stumbled across them. Like the Dead South, I like them. They're a pretty good band that's out and doing stuff. There's another guy. Why can't I think of his name off the top of my head? But I came across his stuff a couple years ago, and it's pretty good. I got to give me a moment to try to remember his name. He actually did an opening for the guy who played Dexter Morgan. He put out a show not that long ago after he left Dexter. And it was an opening for that, and I remember hearing it, and it was actually pretty good. And then I looked him up, and I found his stuff, and he's actually a pretty good artist. But yeah, it's like you gotta dig deep to find anyone good anymore. That's pretty bad.
I've recently found a couple of bands because I've been listening to a lot of music. One I ran into today was called Plaid on Flannel. Some of these are I have a subscription to a vinyl box, and this one guy I just got called Patty Sherlock. Latest album is Dusk. I really like. So I agree with James. It's out there, but it's really damn hard to find, especially if you're old like James and Rob.
So I only listen to 50s, 60s, 70s, and some 80s music, and that's it. I'm done.
That's kind of where I'm at too. It's like I have to, if I really want to listen to something, it's all the stuff, it's like the 60s, 70s. I do listen to some 80s and 90s. Very rare stuff from the early 2000s. And then, like I said, there's only been a handful of bands that I've even looked at recently that I'm even like, okay, you're pretty good. And I dig through them and find some of their stuff that I like, and then I move on.
I would say for me, part of the reasons I like older music, and besides the fact I'm old, is you can hear, it's not as perfected. It's not perfect. And I think that's one of the things that drives me nuts about new music, is it's all cleaned up. It's not all of it's pop, but it's perfected too much. In some music you can hear the drummer was mistiming, or it's too, modern music is too clean. In a lot of ways. The guy I was trying to think of is Barnes Courtney. And if you guys haven't heard his stuff, look it up to this guy has probably one of the best voices of somebody I've heard in a long time. And I'm trying to look up the song that really turned me on to him. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. Trying to find it. Sinners. Sinners is the song I believe it was, and Fire are the two that I heard him do the first time. And they're really good. He's got one of the, I really enjoy his voice. So. Oh, talk about a guy who I literally have never heard of until I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I asked James if he'd heard him of Jelly Roll. Never heard of him, didn't know who he was, saw his face, because he has a very distinctive face, bunch of tattoos, larger man. But his newest album called Witsit Chapel is actually, it's a country album. It's actually an amazing album. It's one of the first in a while. I'm like, I really dig this album.
I haven't heard his country stuff. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I thought he was just a rapper.
Dying out. Quinton Tarantino actually did an interview recently about his new film coming out that he's very much keeping close to the chest, called The Critic.
It's supposed to be his last, right?
It is going to be his last one. Mm-hmm. And
I'd buy that for $1.
And what he's saying is that the motion picture business is dying.
I agree.
And dying quickly. And what he means by this is that he's saying that, what is a motion picture anymore? You're not going to theater. This movie is coming out exclusively to theater. I don't know if he is going to allow this thing to touch a streaming service for years. He is very much against streaming movies. He hates it. And the reason why he's saying it's diminishing returns is his big reasoning, but he just hates it. He's got nothing good to say about it, which is actually kind of interesting. He was saying that the Ryan Reynolds movie that came out not that long ago, I'm trying to think of the Spirited, and he said he made $50 million on the movie, and $50 million on that movie and on the next movie, and he's like, there's just no money to be made out of it, and it's all going to the streaming services, and he doesn't want to give streaming services any money.
I've said this before. If you want to, because I actually agree Hollywood's dying, and it's because Hollywood Video's not around anymore. This is Netflix's fault. This is the fact that Hollywood hasn't figured out how to make any money. It's one of the reasons we've been stuck with craptastic Marvel movies for the last decade instead of...
Well, I don't want to throw it all on it, but I'm going to, is, the COVID-19. When we shut down for COVID, it just got all kind of, everyone stayed at home, and what were we doing?
It was dying. It was dying before that. I think it was dying before that.
To James's point, I think he's saying it was kind of the
death
straw that
nail.
broke the camel's back, right? Because
the one that threw it down the hill.
right.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean by that, and for 2 years we were locked up. You got to do something, so we all started streaming like crazy. And then, to be honest with you, for me, a lot more convenient. Got a pretty big giant TV, a nice sound system.
Yeah,
it's just better
for
me.
That's kind of where I was. I was already watching a bunch of stuff at home, anyways. By that point,
yeah,
because I didn't have money to go out and do things because things just started getting more expensive, and then COVID hit, and everything just skyrocketed, and it hasn't come back down. Honestly,
I still prefer, when there's a movie I actually want to see, I still prefer seeing in theaters. The problem with me is there's not a lot of movies that I'm willing to invest in, and that's what it is. You're investing in it. You're investing in the entertainment. You're investing in your time. And it took quite a while before there was a movie that I was actually willing to pay to see, and that was the new Dungeons and Dragons movies, which was hilarious, actually. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
See, I got to stream it.
Because I've been avoiding Marvel. Because I've been avoiding Marvel movies. I haven't liked any of them in quite a while.
Okay, so I got one more movie thing to talk about. I thought this was hilarious. So, talking about dying franchises, Fast X.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear what Vin Diesel has to say about it? And that it's bombing at the box offices.
No, I hadn't heard that.
Oh, yeah.
He is throwing Jason Momoa under the bus for this one.
Really?
Because of his overacting and scene stealing depiction of this bad character. Now, guess what critics have to say?
He's the best thing in the movie.
Exactly. They said they loved his campy villain.
Well, and his defense, and Vin Diesel's defense, everybody loves Jason Momoa. I think if you're gonna talk in wrestling terms, it's really hard to turn people against Jason Momoa. He could murder children on screen and people would still be loving him.
So I
some
heard
truth to it,
Vin Diesel talking about the movie and talking about Jason Momoa before it actually came out. And he was saying, "Oh, he's great. He's fantastic. He's the best thing added to this, franchise since it started." And so now he's going the other way with it. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. It's like it kind of seems like he's just kind of looking for an out.
Yeah, well, and supposedly Dwayne Johnson already came out and said, "Yeah, he'll be in the last movie."
Well,
Now, he said that maybe before this movie is bombed.
Well, this is supposed to be a trilogy, I heard.
Yes. So Vin Diesel did say that this is the beginning of a trilogy.
Of the end.
Yeah. And, I'm sitting there and I'm getting so upset by all this crap with this Fast Furious things. And somebody explained it. And it kind of made sense to me finally. Why they're still doing Fast and Furious and the reason why they even got funding to make this into a trilogy, even though this is Fast and Furious 10. So, and the way they explained it is in the US, people are sick of the Fast and Furious. But out in Europe and the UK area, they love these movies. And that's where they're making their money. So yeah, they may fail here, but if we go and look at what the other countries are doing with them, they like them for some stupid reason. I can't understand it.
I can kind of a bit because one, I think just because of American car culture has always been face forward, and if you look at this movie's historically, this is kind of the original one was making fun of car culture. This has gone even farther. How a drag race movie turned into James Bond with bad acting, or worse acting. Sorry, Timothy. I can see it, and it makes sense because this is just there really are just good old fashioned action movies. I don't like them. I'm not a fan of them, but they're just that's what they are. I don't like them because how they started. I started hating this movie as if you watched the first one. I've just never liked them since.
So the last thing I want to discuss before we move on from, I guess we could say, entertainment discussion is, so we've talked about this. I mostly brought it up and we've discussed it. Netflix's password sharing.
Yeah.
So Netflix, as of I believe it was last Tuesday, quietly rolled out in the U.S. across the nation them stopping password sharing. They didn't do a big thing about it that they're doing it this date. They didn't send emails out. They didn't do anything like that, but they did it. So HBO went from HBO Max to just Max on the same day.
Yeah.
That they did it. So HBO did a big thing of them changing over, and the same day Netflix is like, we're sneaking this in. Now, so that got shut off, and I believe I'm the only one in this group right now that has somebody that has been using my Netflix.
Okay.
So they went out, their whatever got shut off on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah, Sunday it finally shut it up, stopped their ability to stream, and they went out and made their own account. So they messaged me and said, "Hey, can you send my profile to me?" Now Netflix has an option of transferring profiles. Not a big deal, right? I go in, I click on the transfer profile, and the person gave me their account information so I could transfer it. That's part of the steps that Netflix wants you to do. So I put in their stuff. Guess what? I can't do it.
No.
Why?
Because they hold on, I'm getting to that. They created their own account, and I can't give them their profile because they created their account already. Now, this person that I'm speaking of, I won't name drop or anything, they also have a child who also has been using my account too. So that's two profiles that I'm trying to transfer over that I can't do it. So I call Netflix. Hey, Netflix, transfer this profile to this person because your stupid website is not allowing this. Half an hour later, what it comes down to is each profile that you want to transfer to someone else has to create their own Netflix. So let that sink in. So they give you the option to transfer profiles, but you can't transfer them without Netflix charging you or them.
Huh. So it's not free. It's not free to transfer.
No, it's not free to transfer. And
Right.
I pay for the high-end premium of Netflix, and they want to charge me another $8 per person if I want to allow them to have their own Netflix on my account. For two people, it's just under $16, like $15.50, for you to be able to have two people on your account in the same household. So it's 50 cents cheaper for them to get their own than for me to do it.
Right.
It's just kind of baffling that Netflix rolled this out and seemed to have not thought logistically through all of this to make it easy, for one.
I don't think they cared.
And I don't think they care too. So this is the biggest money grab scheme I've seen from a streaming site in a long time.
You want to know why? I think Netflix is having some financial issues. They cancel they cancel their programs left and right. The one gimmick they had that made everybody consider actually getting them, I considered getting, was the DVD service, was for some of the rare content. And they're selling that off. I think Netflix, I think all these people who don't have a big money studio behind them, like Netflix, I think Netflix is on the way out. And you read people, you read people and they say, oh, Netflix is making 100,000 here too with all this money, but it's like the problem is their own content. When they do make it, you get invested in it and they cancel it on one season. All the other stuff you want to see is stuff that people, every service has. This, whatever the non, the non first party stuff is. So I think Netflix is done.
I don't actually think they'll be done for maybe another decade.
Oh, no, I agree. I just think they're on the way out. Unless they figure out another gimmick, I just don't think they can survive.
Or they merge.
Now, you just
Amazon.
You just kind of gave me a little thing here for a second, John. You mentioned that they're going to stop their streaming service.
Their DVD
Or
service.
not their streaming service, their DVD service. And I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I might have mentioned it. We've been kind of doing this show sporadically recently because of life for all three of us.
Yeah.
Well, all four of us. We haven't talked about Ryan. We'll let Ryan debate on how he wants to handle his return when he returns.
Okay.
Anyways, Blockbuster. Remember in April, Blockbuster randomly started up their website.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And said, something's coming soon or some crap like that. I don't remember the exact wording. I wonder if Netflix and Blockbuster are working something behind the scenes where Blockbuster starts a DVD mail service. That would be genius.
So you want to know what the funniest thing about that comment is? So Sherman set the Wayback Machine. Guess who offered themselves to said Blockbuster?
Who?
Netflix actually said, hey, would you like to buy us? And they laughed in their face and said, no, why would we do that?
I think I do remember.
Oh.
That would be funny.
Also,
Anyway.
also Redbox, I think, said, hey, can we buy your DVD
Business.
part of you? Business.
Right. Now, is Redbox is still out
Yeah.
there, right?
They're still around.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
they
get
even have a
out. I don't
Redbox app.
get out much these days.
So Redbox actually has an app where you can rent some of the movies that quite a few of the movies that they have at the boxes. And if if you see one at the box over there, you can actually rent it at home. I think it's like $1 or $2 more to do it, but they also give you discount codes and shit like that if you're on their little email thing and have an account with them. But yeah, so I actually have a Redbox app on my Roku, and I stop by the boxes every so often. But yeah, it's been a while since I've done it. But yeah, they're They're actually pretty active. It's pretty nice to see that you can still get the DVDs and stuff, but it's kind of ridiculous.
I have a question. And now that there's a resurgence of hard media, records have sold more than CDs have in a long time. They're actually they're actually making pressing plants to manufacture vinyl records. Tapes are making a comeback, which I'm not quite understanding.
I don't get that either.
Do you think there's going to be a resurgence of DVDs? Because I'm not a fan of streaming personally. I'm not, because you have to have the internet. Not everybody has internet. A lot of people like having hard media, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
By the way, it's going to be a boutique. No matter what anybody says, records will never be mainstream again. I'm a record head, but it's boutique. Let's be straight and honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if DVDs start making a comeback. The thing is, I just don't know how long that would last with the convenience of the internet, and I don't know. I don't see stores carrying it like they used to, like our old favorite little place, Suncoast. I don't see that coming back like it did.
No.
So maybe over the internet there's going to be a thing kind of like what you've been doing with your record thing, where you get the records and stuff. I don't know. Well, I think the logistics of it are going to be, I don't know, not as easy.
I would like to see it make a comeback. And one of the reasons I believe, and I could be wrong, one of the reasons that records are making a comeback, besides nostalgia, which, to be honest, is a money driver, is the fact I think people are trying to go back into a time when they had time, when they weren't multitasking, they weren't doing 1,000 things at once, when they're like, okay, I'm setting this time aside to watch physical media. That's one of the reasons I listen to records. Like, I still stream, but when I find a record, I'll sit down, I'll listen to it from A to B, and I think people are trying to reproduce that, because I think people realize now that they're just hardwired to just be constantly busy. I crave things being bored, which is hilarious, because as a kid I hated being bored, and now I'm like, I would give anything to be bored for a day.
The interesting thing that you're bringing up is the mental picture that I had, with vinyl records, that you put a record on, you sit down, you either listen to your system or through your headset. And that's what you did. You just listened to the music. You weren't streaming. You weren't surfing the web. You weren't looking at your email. You weren't reading text messages. None of that existed. And so you kind of just...
You heard it here, folks. Here, he's hold.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's what you did. And I haven't done that in so long, just simply because it's just... When I listen to music most of the time now, it's when I'm doing other office work or other stuff that I have to do. And it's like... to find time to just do what we used to do back in the 70s, whereas to sit down and listen to it, it's just hard.
And that's why I think everything's making a comeback. I know I think a lot of people are just tired of being constantly busy. I know, like, James and I have kids, so that's a little bit harder, but I think that's what, like, for example, I grew up watching Leave It to Beaver. I think there's some of that is romanticizes the fact that time you had, that family time or that personal time when you're not doing 1,000 things at once and doing all of it poorly. I miss that. I miss it, that moments of quiet. Yeah. But also for me, my moments of quiet is when I go to thrift shops, record stores, vintage stores, etc., looking for particular albums. And randomly finding CDs. I'm like, oh, this sounds like a good one. Like I recently picked up the best of Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about old time stuff, I came across a list of things, and it was titled "Boomers' Opinions That Are Actually Spot On."
Before you get onto that, please listen to this. Today's show is brought to you by Audacity, the unforgettable party game for mischievous people. The game where dignity is overrated. Make sure you go to oddassity.com or selected stores. Make sure you use MadTrio, all caps, all one word, for 10% off your final order. Make sure you tell Miss Audacity herself that the MadTrio sent you. Do you want to keep up to date with the maddest of the mad at the MadTrio podcast? Make sure you go to themadtrio.com or check out our social media feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Boy, what a way to kill the vibe. I don't care anymore. Okay, so what I was going to say is boomer opinions that are actually spot on. So I was just going through a few.
Melanie, this is for you.
Melody's listicle. People are too loud.
I agree.
Yeah.
Says everybody about Americans.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, I know of some Europeans that are just as loud.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've met some Europeans that are louder, if not.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a guest.
I've been around Spaniards.
Hi,
So-
Rob.
Oh, we have a guest.
Oh, hello.
So would said guest like to introduce himself?
Hi, my name is Josh Lean. I live in Pittsburgh. I lead a very boring life.
Well, you'll fit in perfect.
Sweet.
Okay, so people are too loud.
Oh, yeah. So we started with, the boomer things that, where people are too loud that are spot on. It's spot on. People are too loud.
Okay.
One of the
boomer.
other things is physical buttons are the best. So everything's going, even in automobiles. And I looked at this, particularly at automobiles, is that everything's going, the touch sensitive, whatever it may be. It's almost like you have a built-in tablet right into your cars now. And but you actually have to look at the screen to know exactly where, that particular touch sensor is on that screen, where when we had physical radios or we had push buttons or whatever type that are actual physical buttons, you didn't have to. You knew where they were. You were in your car all the time.
I've had that thought every time I see somebody driving a Tesla, when the only thing is that giant iPad looking thing. Like, how fucking hard is it to drive that thing and trying to find your radio station? Because in my car, it can be difficult.
Yeah, radio station, air conditioning, how hot or how cold, how high or how low. Everything's controlled by touch controls now, and you have to physically look at it. And so I think you're kind of adding to the distraction of driving, but that's, why I think this boomer here is spot on. In James' world, paper menus are better than QR code menus.
I don't get that shit. I do not get the QR code thing. I think that's an idiotic way to go.
So,
no.
by the way, my wife will totally agree with this. She'll go on a rant how stupid that is, because sometimes, like, for her examples, like one of the places she went was the internet did not work. So you're trying to bring up the menu, but you have no internet on your phone. They have no menu, so they have to go out and print it. It's just like, this makes no sense.
Yeah. So there you go.
I think that's an idiotic move by any restaurant.
And
high-end restaurants, by the way. I could totally see if this is, like your dive wing shop, but if it's like a high-end restaurant, like my wife's told me about, that would be annoying as hell. I'm paying per head, and I have to scan.
And I'm sorry, I'd much rather look at a full-size menu than a little screen where I have to scroll around everywhere to see everything that I want.
You just don't like zooming to read the text.
The QR code menus are left over from COVID. That's something that just never went away. And they were like, oh, we don't have to use any resources of our business to print off menus. And they can just have people use their own devices because everyone has one. Why not? But I agree. I don't like it either.
Yeah, and I think you end up disenfranchising people to a degree when they know that every time they go there, it's going to be QR code. And they go, screw it. I'm not going to do it. So, maybe we'll go somewhere else. So everything in a restaurant's got to be service oriented. And when you're not really servicing the customers by providing a menu,
So
me, that's wrong.
I have to admit, I have yet to see this, but I eat mainly at McDonald's and fast food and gas stations
Mainly
when
at
I'm on the
McDonald's,
road. I have not. When I'm busy on the road or working, usually the gas station's the only place I can get time to eat. So
At
I haven't read
McDonald's,
that.
they're all going to be going to kiosks, and there'll be no more employees to see, and everything will be walk up and push a button, right?
You know, there's some pluses to that. I do like, but I have to admit, talking to somebody is kind of cool. But I don't find the kiosks that annoying.
It's just
Personally.
weird. I mean, maybe because I didn't grow up with it, but it's still kind of odd. I mean, the first time I saw one of those was Taco Bell. Went there, and there's no people. You don't see anybody, and you walk up, and it's like talking to a robot. You know, it's not even a robot. You push in stuff and walk over there, and this thing comes flying out at you. It's like, well, okay, that's different.
Yeah, the only place I've seen that is McDonald's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
McDonald's is the only place I've ever seen that.
So, I don't go to McDonald's very much. So,
I
yeah,
go weekly because I have a child who really likes McDonald's.
you can break them of that habit
Why would I want to do that?
because McDonald's is actually getting a lot more expensive.
They're all over Western Pennsylvania. The touchscreen kiosks, they're everywhere.
Oh, are they?
And you're losing social skills by having to talk to someone. I'm just pushing buttons and staying in my own world.
That is something I'll 100% agree with. I think that's the one negative side about the modern generation is being focused, is they're not people friendly.
I didn't think about it on the social side. I think you bring up a good point with that.
So you know what we need to
The
do?
interaction.
We need to bring back bridge clubs.
You gotta like bridge to want to be in the bridge club.
It's the only thing I could think of. You know, hopscotch.
Poker. More poker nights.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I suck at poker, but
One of many reasons why you see a lot of decline in fraternal organizations like your Moose Lodges, your Elks Lodges, things where people used to come together and just socialize and have camaraderie. Even in the veterans communities with like your VFWs, your all that stuff is going away because this generation doesn't like to do any of that.
see that surprises me that the VFW specifically, because the members of the military like yourself, I know I've talked to in the past, that I've been told that's the only place there's a certain thing, a certain connection that they can only get around other veterans. I'm really surprised that's disappearing.
There's kind of when you walk into I don't pretend to speak for all the veterans. I'll just speak for myself. But when I walk into a VFW, there's kind of like a stigma, kind of predating the war, like a tier system, right? Like if you're a World War II veteran and you walk in, you're God. The demigods would be the Vietnam generation, and this newest generation, we don't really matter quite as much. And I think I know I'm off put by that, and I just don't have time for it. And a lot of times, especially with the VFW, not so much the Legion, but the VFW, it's just a lot of drinking. Hey, let's just go to the bar and get cheap drinks. And like, I have a job, I have a wife, I'm a dad. Like, I don't have time to just go to the bar and drink.
Right.
Let's be honest. At least for me, that was never fun when I was single. Having busy, it's just not fun.
It's not fun.
That's a whole period of time, social network. It's a whole different thing that I think they're still carrying on. I mean, we used to go to our Veterans Hall all the time for meetings and things, and all it is the bar. I mean, really, that's all it's all about. You know, for at least our local one here, and it's all about the bar. And it's like, but I could care less about the bar, right? And so. And maybe that is generational. I can see exactly what you mean by, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. That was still kind of the norm for all us guys that age. that kind of thing. Although it never was for me, but it seemed to be the thing. And I think we're getting away from that, probably for the better. It's just like smoking all the time, smoking everywhere. It's just like drinking all the time, drinking and driving. I mean, there's a number of those type of things that we're getting away from, and we're growing out of for the betterment.
I would kind of interject. I think it's positive and negative. I mean, you always see like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's when everybody had a martini in a hand and a cigarette, at least in the movies and popular media of the day. But that was also where we had all the social interaction. I think there's a negative side. It's now everybody's like, okay, drinking too much is bad, smoking's too much is bad. But now everybody stays at home watching their 50-inch or 100-inch television, watching movies. I don't know. There's got to be a happy medium.
Well, we are isolating more. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The pandemic didn't help that at all. Yeah. I mean, we were heading in that direction anyway. And then the next thing you know, the government's telling you, no, you guys can't get together. You can't have parties. You can't see each other. You can't go visit your neighbor.
So 10 people in your home.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
the only people I know who that actually stopped is non-rednecks. All the rednecks I know were like, whatever. Here's a Budweiser.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay, no longer Budweiser, but it was they didn't care.
As long as it wasn't Bud Light.
They just need better beer.
I made a joke in Lodge the other night, and it was very popular. We're putting on an event with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and someone said, "Hey, does any of the brothers here know another anywhere we can get inexpensive beer, or like someone who would be willing to donate beer?" And I stood up and said, if you email the VP of Bud Light, you could get some really cheap beer. And I got quite a few roaring laughs at that.
I bet you did.
The funniest thing is, I guarantee they would. There's some massive fallout from that.
Oh, yeah.
Which to me is funny because I don't care one way or another, but you think a beer company who's always been rah-rah American would at least know their target audience? That's the part that shocked me.
They screwed up in that. And Kid Rock really added to the fuel to the fire on that one, too. So.
And Yingling took the exact opposite direction. Said, "We'll show you what patriotism is." Went hard and to the right. But you would think that corporate America would look at the example of Bud Light and say, let's not make the same mistake. But here we have Target, who literally did the exact same thing.
I think I think just thinking about the market, that's a hard thing because there is an untapped market that they're not reaching. So I think there's a balance there that they're trying to reach, which right now is just really hard to do because it's just it's the thing in the moment. It's the fish in the barrel. It'll be something else next week.
If you just look at the numbers, though, if these are supposed to be corporations, and what are they looking at? They're looking at numbers, sales numbers in general, all that, and you're going, okay, let's glorify this portion where the majority don't really like what you're glorifying, but let's go ahead and do it and make it a mainstay. And then all of a sudden it's like, what?
But it's because it's
backlash. How can there be a backlash?
Because it's the topic of the moment. It's on every channel, every news, whether pro or against. It's everywhere. So you're thinking, okay, this has got to get because no views are bad views, and Budweiser's the first person to realize that. Okay, that's not necessarily true. Whether good or bad, they got bit by doing what seems to be popular.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it, I'm agnostic to it.
I'm not going to drink any of that shit anyways. And I don't care. If somebody wants to do something, go ahead. I don't care. Does it hurt me?
We talked about that the whole time. And you don't have to take a stand on a position like that. But people do vote by their dollars. And that's kind of right. And it's big enough that Budweiser, one of the biggest in the world, was affected by it. That tells you something.
Do you know what they should have done? In all seriousness, instead of apologizing, just say, Budweiser, we're aiming to make better quality beer. Because let's be honest, you're not drinking Bud Light for the flavor. It's one step above Natty Ice.
They say they like drinking Bud Light because they can drink more because they don't get as drunk. And I'm just like, yeah, you can drink a bunch of it without getting drunk, but why do you want to?
Okay, so I'm not the only one confused at that. What's the point of drinking? Like if you're going to drink all day.
Wow, we're back to the social part of it. Isn't that what we're talking about?
I'm talking about people that stay at home and drink these things. They're not out drinking with other
Can't
people.
have it both ways, can we? We can only have it one way or the other. No.
It could be both ways. They could go out drinking socially with it and then, drive home after, I guess, if they're not too drunk or something. Home. But yeah, I'm like, I just don't get it because, like, if I'm drinking, I'm not drinking to get, like completely wasted, but, I'm not drinking that crap for the flavor, so why am I drinking it?
Yeah.
See, this is where I disagree. I drink quality liquor for the flavor that happens to get me slightly buzzed.
If I'm going to drink something, I'm going to drink something that's good. I'm not going to drink something that's, mediocre or crap.
Which, by the way, shout out to Buffalo Trace. If you want to happen to sponsor this podcast, you are one of my all-time favorite beverages. Matter of fact, I always joke, if I go missing, people are going to find my picture on bottles of bourbon.
Speaking of bourbon, this weekend I took a tour of the Wiggle Bourbon Distillery Factory here in Pittsburgh, one of the oldest distilleries in the area, where they specialize in different types of small batch, local craft bourbon. Very good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very, very good. I'm currently drinking the American Rye Kilted Bourbon. They had Lafroig Scotch barrels sent over from Scotland, and they aged their bourbon in the Lafroig barrels, so it kind of gives off a little half and half taste.
I might have to Venmo you some money so you can send things my bottles my way.
That.
Good. All right. Well, we'll move. So back to the topics I was talking about, the 10 boomer opinions that are actually spot on.
Okay.
I'm going to try to finish a few more of those. One of the other things can't stand is automated customer service. So you dial into somewhere and everything is automated.
Phone trees are the devil. I think if there's anything Christians were right is the devils are in phone trees because I can never talk to a single fucking person.
I just keep pressing 0 over and over and over again.
My girlfriend was dealing with trying to do an over the phone payment with one of the companies, and they don't let you do that over the phone. Everything has to be either through their automated system or online. And they didn't even set up a real automated system. And she sat there trying to push 0. I was telling her to do it. And it would just do a roundabout and then hang up on you.
Yeah.
So they're also trying to shut that off too.
All right, here's another one under the same thing, but not on about an automated customer service. I had to call a department in our county. And I called this department, and I expected to get into the phone tree hell. Believe it or not, 2 rings in, and an actual person picked up.
Did they have an accent?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were right there, in an office down in the county buildings. But here's the thing that was amazing. So I was trying to get a service done. And they said, well, we now charge for that service. You have to pay, in this case, it was $40 for what I wanted. I say, okay, fine. And then she goes on to say, but we can't take any payments over the phone, nor do we do a credit card.
You have to mail her a check or cash.
Yeah, it's either I had to go to the county and bring in a check or go there and give them cash.
Huh.
And it's like,
well, that's not a very convenient option.
Well, let's be honest. If you're dealing with a government, none of it's convenient.
In this day and age, a government entity that doesn't take a credit card, hell, I pay my DMV fees online using a credit card.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, come on. So
it
seems like.
Could you give them a check?
What's that? So,
could you write them a check?
Yeah, I had to actually physically write a check.
Jeez.
Now,
wow.
I can't tell you. I'd have to look at my book. I can't tell you the last time I actually physically wrote a check. That was like, what?
It's been so long, the old guy had to look at the example at the front to figure out how to do it.
Well, I pay all my bills online.
Did they not know how to use the carbon copy machine? Maybe that's why they wouldn't take your credit card.
Yeah, maybe.
They only had carbon copy machines, and they didn't know what those were.
There's some truth to that.
It's crazy. That just struck me as just bizarre.
By the way, I made that joke to a younger person, and was at some shop doing some shopping. Said, at least you're not like having to use a carbon copy machine, and you had this like blank look. What's that?
What's
it's like,
yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, I'm that old. It's like, do you know what 8-tracks are? What? It's like, I'm just leaving before.
Well, did you ask them? Do you know what seeing somebody means?
No, they don't.
I mean,
honestly, they probably don't know what email is.
Well, there may be some truth to that.
Because the only thing I get in emails is a bunch of spam.
Yeah.
I get some stuff in emails every so often, but nobody actually writing me stuff. It's more like confirmation of your purchase, or this payment went through, or something like that.
A lot of business is still done via email attachments, and everything else that's involved with it. So there's still a good deal of email going on out there.
My email address
John just wants spam. He's asked everybody.
My email address got
lonely. I'm lonely. I need people to send me stuff.
I miss people. My email address got sold a number of years ago, so somehow I get an odd mix of right wing, left wing, and plastic surgery stuff. It's like, I don't want any of this. The farther I stay away from politics, the better my health seems to become.
Well, there's truth to that. Going to move along here. One more to add to this, a couple more to add to this, but anyone in particular. One of the other pet peeves also is to stop recording fireworks. When 4th of July comes around, just watch the damn fireworks. Recording them. What are you doing recording fireworks? I mean, come on. Do you ever go back and watch those fireworks that you recorded and go, ooh?
Oh, so, are you talking about people with their phones out recording?
Yes.
Like trying to think like people at home, like.
No, they're recording. They're out there at a fireworks show and they're pulling up their phones recording.
So I happen to know personally that said old guy has done that before, but with a much bigger camera.
Hey, can't say that I didn't do it. Everybody's done it. But, the fact is, it dawned on me, you never go back and look at it. Because, one, it's never exactly the same.
Oh, no.
Right? It's not the same experience.
No, it's not. I mean, you got a good point about that one. And I'm sure every single boomer has done it.
I'm sure.
So, Josh, is that something you've done? Have you recorded fireworks?
Perhaps, but I have not done it in some time.
God, he got him to admit it.
Well, I'm trying to think. I'm really trying to think. I might have done it once, and that's it.
Look at James here trying to look. Maybe trying to deny it.
I'm trying to think. It's not been one that I've ever gone out and.
All right. So this is for all those listening to us out there. Don't record it. Just watch and enjoy it.
I recorded fireworks once, but because it was my son's first time seeing it. That's the only reason why, is because I was doing it to see his expression and how excited he was. Besides that, I've never done it.
But that's different.
That's different.
Yeah, that's different. Somewhere I have a recording of you, John, at Disney World when you were a little kid looking at the fireworks jumping up and down.
Yeah, too bad that format no longer exists, so it's hard to find a way to watch it.
You need a projector and a bed screen.
That's right.
True.
All right, here's another one. Now we're all seeing some of these, particularly the all-electric cars that are out there now, where the headlights, they're all these LED bright headlights are just too damn bright. I can't be the only one that's going, I'm going at God, these things are blinding.
Oh, you talk about that. You know what I realized? I rented a Camry because my car was having transmission issues. There's a feature on this Camry to, when there's no lights presence coming towards you, it always has the brights on. So half the time I thought these people are driving on the lights on. No, there's actually brands that it blinds you when it's oncoming, when there's oncoming traffic, and it shuts off a couple of seconds later. So sometimes it's just because those, those cars
They're
have
running
auto.
with those features, and they're not the sensors are not reacting quick enough.
Oh no. I know I blinded a few people driving this car, and like it's a
you go.
really cool feature, but of course, where I used to live, everybody drove with their headlights on bright at night. It was either that or crash.
I wonder what highway patrol does these days with all these, because it used to be a point in time where you couldn't drive. If your headlights were not aimed properly or seemed to be too bright, they'd pull you over.
They're too
Now, what
busy
are they
being on
doing?
their cell
They're
phone.
stopping, 80% of all the cars out there now.
I think some of them come that way from the manufacturer.
Oh, no, they do. No,
So
don't get me wrong.
I don't think that the officers can really just, pull you over for a car that you got from the manufacturer that's built that way.
Can you
they?
aim your headlights anymore? I haven't looked. The last couple of cars I've had didn't have
I assume
that
you can.
screw.
You have to have a way of being able to aim them, I would think, because anytime you replace the lenses and all that, they're not. They don't come perfectly centered. Maybe they do. What do I know? I just know that it seems to me that they do feel very bright. Just put it that way. All right, here's another one. And when I first thought about this particular thing, I went, yeah. And then I realized I have one of these things that actually I really love, and it is connected appliances. So, it seems like every appliance out there nowadays, your refrigerator, your stove, your microwave, whatever it may be, is all Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connected. And I went, well, what do I want my refrigerator connected to the internet for?
So it knows when you're out of milk.
So, yeah, so that's one of those things that it's going, do we really? But you know what? So this is the only time that I'm ever going to admit this. That Jonathan was right.
Hold on. I have that saved. I am totally saving this to my phone.
You need to savor this moment.
Yeah. Savor this moment, Jonathan.
I'm going to hand it down to my grandchildren. Your great-grandfather said, I was right.
One time. He'd been getting me for a couple of years now to say I had to get a Traeger barbecue. And I was kind of, I was one of the old charcoal guys. And then I got into the propane, and I got into the propane grilling because it was just so damn easy. You didn't have to wait for anything to heat up or anything. Crank on, there you go. Jonathan, and we're not sponsored by Traeger, but I'm going to tell you, he talked me into getting a Traeger barbecue. And I love this thing. I absolutely love this thing. It is just phenomenal.
Yes.
What brought this up is that it's got a Wi-Fi connectivity to it where you control the barbecue with your phone. You control the temperatures. You control the probe settings. You control everything with it. I don't have to get out of my lazy boy and do a dang thing. I throw the meat on the grill, stick a probe in it, shut the lid, and go down and sit in my chair, and everything's done.
It's first world barbecue.
It's incredible.
So I have one smart compliance that I do not understand, because usually I think they're cool.
What are you complying with?
And I'm sticking to it. So here's the price, and you got to tell me what this is. It's for $2,299, and it's in your restroom. Would you like to have
crickets?
It's a Wi-Fi connected toilet.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking, like a bidet, or it's like a bidet toilet thing.
So it's
going to keep track of your bowel movements, and
so it's the
pH testing on your.
It's a smart Wi-Fi controlled multifunction toilet.
Well, see, now you don't even have to get out of your lazy boy. You can sit on your bidet, be smart Wi-Fi'd with that and your barbecue.
So did anybody see that really bad John Ritter's movie, Stay Tuned, came out when he was still alive?
Oh, yeah.
There was a joke in that about the Napper Crapper 5000 that was a refrigerator, lazy boy, and toilet all in one.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I saw that the first time. I'm like, that could actually be useful.
I remember seeing that and saying, that's the future. And I was right.
There you go. That's the future. Ah, jeez,
I still can't believe I haven't recorded him saying I'm right. I'm going to have to save that somehow.
I'm glad you got to record it because it'll never happen again.
You know what you should do, John? Make that a soundbite.
Oh, I'm totally going to do that.
And this is when Rob kicks me off the show.
That's right. You are done.
Well, technically, we would just have to find another way to get you on the show.
So, okay, John, I know you started this one. You started bringing up this whole story, and I'm curious if you've kept up on the saga of Disneyland versus Florida.
I haven't heard the recent news besides they're mutually suing each other.
Okay, so they mutually were suing each other, right? And so they were being sued, and then they countersued, and now there's been 3. Let me double check that. There's been, okay, we might just be on to 2 developments after that. Okay, so Santos came back and said, okay, fine, you're going to countersue me. Well, now we are going to really put a lag in your monorail system. So he upped the try to remember the exact term. I've been reading these things all on off since this has all been coming on. So he signed a law that is going after their monorail, saying that is a transportation and can fall under their transportation department.
But it's been there since 1960 something. Wouldn't that be grandfathered in?
Well, Ron DeSantos is going for it anyway. So he signed into law HB 1305. And that it gives the states rights to go and conduct as many inspections of the monorail system that they want. So they can go in at any time, shut down the monorail system to inspect it.
Mm-hmm.
So legitimate
Disney World came back and said, okay, fine, we are going to actually move. So they want to take Walt Disney World out of Florida. They want to take the entire thing out of there. So
they
DeSantis came back and said this. This I actually kind of thought was pretty freaking hilarious. Florida needs a new place for a state prison.
Yeah, I read that one. That was pretty funny.
So
now the rumor is Disney World may be coming to, guess where?
Texas.
Nevada.
I cannot see him putting it that close to Disneyland.
I can't see it either. This has just been a rumor, speculation that came out. It hasn't been officially released by Disney, but apparently Disney World, or the Disney company, is looking to be putting a new theme park in Nevada somewhere. They haven't stated where, but they are looking at land in Nevada, is what the Disney Corporation is doing. And that has been confirmed, that they're at least looking at land in Nevada.
So they're going to have to.
That's where Disney World is wanting to go.
It's, if they're serious, and I don't believe they are, but they have too much infrastructure going on there in Florida. There's too much invested in there for
too long.
They've been there from like 1960. Don't forget, this was something Walt Disney himself actually planned. He never saw it to completion, but Walt was actually involved in Disney World. I am curious, though, at what point is this just a government going after a company? Because originally it was kind of funny. Some of it I've agreed with, but now it just seems like it's vindictive and on the verge of being illegal.
Yeah, don't forget, too. Yeah, don't forget, too. Disney plays the long game.
Oh, yeah.
DeSantis has got another term, if at all. He'll be gone. They'll get another governor, and this whole thing will blow by. And, and so I'm sorry. I think anything saying they're actually going to move it and shut it down, I just don't see it happening.
I can't see it either.
It's fun mental exercise to think, oh, what can we do? Where are we going to put it? We're going to, but I'm sorry. I don't.
Well, the company is saying that they're going to actually leave. That was actually from Walt Disney World.
They have.
I think it's Ron.
They have said They have said they are shifting jobs to other places. They originally were going to have like a more consolidation of parts of Disney, and they basically said, okay, that's over. Like they stopped the $1 billion project, etc. I have read a number of people that's interesting that some people, oh, good, Disney fucks up Florida to this. If Disney moves, it's basically going to crash the entire economy of Florida. So I don't believe it's in the middle. What do you think, Josh?
They said, yeah, they've they're gonna invest $17 billion into Florida over the next 10 years is what they were doing before all this happened.
Yeah, I think they still will.
As a former cast member of the
Here we
Walt
go.
Disney Company, I don't see it happening. There is so much more infrastructure there that you all have no idea that it exists underground.
Oh,
There's just no way. There's just no way.
I agree.
It's not going anywhere.
I
I've personally walked the tunnels. I've seen everything underground. It's just not possible.
I've always wanted to see the underground tunnels because they solely exist because Disney saw a cowboy in Tomorrowland and got incredibly pissed off.
What would you like to know about them?
I just want to, I've read a number of cast members saying all sorts of wacky stuff about Disney just because I'm a bit of a Disney nut.
So, if you arrive to, we'll use Magic Kingdom as an example, around the backside, and then you go into the tunnels, security is very lackadaisical. I know because I was security. That's my job. I was what do they call us? We are security hosts.
Oh,
security hosts. We are only allowed to physically detain someone and or defend ourselves if we are put into a corner and are unable to escape. That is the only way we are allowed to use force, and the only force you have is your fists because obviously they're completely unarmed. But the tunnels are interesting. It's a long walk. There's a lot of stops in between. There's whole cafeterias underground where you could run into other cast members. Peter Pan is quite a jerk in person, and as are most of the Disney princesses, are very full of themselves.
Shocking.
They are not the people in the world. If you see them and just even say hello to them, you'll probably hear some expletives and see some expletives. It's nasty. Cast members are very undervalued. The Walt Disney Company doesn't pay very well. That's a pretty well-known fact. The average cast member makes about as a starting security host, you'll put in 40 hours for about $11.25 an hour with very minimal benefits. You'll stand outside in the hot sun. If you're like me and you like body art, you will have long sleeves and they're heavy cotton uniforms outside. It's in the heat and the humidity. It's an interesting place. I have a friend who still works for the company, whom I shall not name for his sake. He is former TSA, and myself being former military, we went to our management and said, hey, there's some real security checkpoint issues here. What do you guys mean? Well, if I wanted to take a bag full of a pressure cooker with all sorts of metal objects in it and set it off in the center of Disney World at 8:30 when there's a parade, this is how I would do it, and I would never be touched by any security guard. So maybe we should fix and focus on those issues. And they're like, oh, these guys are terrible people because they're pointing out the holes in our philosophy. You're not here to stop crimes. What do you mean I'm not here to stop crimes? You're just here to have a physical presence so the people see you, so they think we have their best interests at heart, but we really don't care. So, okay. Good to know.
I love the title, by the way, security hosts, like you're supposed to say, here's your table.
Yeah, I'm telling. Well, that's because the 4 keys to success as a cast member is number 1, the show must go on. The whole thing is a giant production 24/7. So even if there's an issue or a quarrel or a guest, there are so many doors that I can get through to get them out of the public view within an instant, so they're behind the scenes so that the show will go on.
Well, there you go. That takes care of that.
I was going to say I've been at semi-Disney my whole life, and when Darth Vader was finally purchased by Disney, everybody was surprised. And I'm like, really? Everybody knew Disney was evil. Now they just have proof.
There you go.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've always liked the South Park interpretation of Disneyland.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that. I've never seen that one.
That's the good one.
So we are running a little late. Does anybody have any final conversation points, tidbits, anything interesting?
No, at least the show picked up. We all started. One of our typical slow starts. We were out of energy.
We just need Josh on more. I mean, he's a piece of luck. He's a lucky charm.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Pleasure.
Want to thank our sponsor, Audacity, for sponsoring this amazing program, and hopefully we'll do more as next week progresses. Life has been incredibly busy. So as always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye.